So how hard is it to go into play at Haas and Maples?
It's really hard. Maples is really hard just because their tradition, all their history, and Haas is hard. That's going to be a really tough game because we beat them here at home, so they are going to be trying to kill us. You know, a lot like that's kind of how we were with Utah. But both play. It's just a really hard trip. You know, like the mountains are hard, and I can't even think of an easy trip in the Pac-12. Now that I think about it, there's some are like the Oregon trip's a little harder just because they're two really dominant teams. But this Bay Area trip, I mean, Stanford does not lose. And that Oregon loss was very rare. And then at Cal is just hard, especially at this time of the year. Everybody's kind of playing for positions. We all have 4 games left, so it's a tough time of year.
How's the momentum carried over from last week going to help going into the Bay Area?
It's going to help with confidence. Going to help, like our players are feeling really good, and for me, just right now, trying to keep things really light, and we can't have 3-hour practices, obviously, so just short and intense, but not long, where they get a lot of shots up. So everybody's feeling good. After you sleep for the weekend, you feel confident, but my thing is that we got to get focused and get better these next few days because it's going to be a tough weekend.
How do you balance that where you want to keep their confidence up, but you also want to keep them pinpoint focused?
Well, it's hard with a young team. So I think it's just you try to do different things to keep them motivated because by this time of the year, it's kind of like you've had 75 practices and it's kind of the same. It's kind of monotonous. So I think that making things shorter, they're really excited about that. When you say, when you say power hour practice, they like practice like it's like the best day of the year. I mean, they're just talking and pumped up. So I think finding ways to just keep it exciting and fresh, and then just not long. I think that's the balance.
Do you focus more on film or kind of more breakdown stuff than more physical? Is that kind
Yeah,
of...
so focus more mental stuff. So right now we're watching a lot more film. So in our block, we're using a segment of that time for more film. So there's individual film sessions. There's also team film session. There's more skill work. So there's more shooting. There's not so much tactical stuff as a team, not so much up and down for us. Yesterday we probably spent 30 minutes of practice on game shots or position shots and position defense, and then some team stuff for like 30 minutes. So, yeah, you just kind of, because you want to save their legs, keep them fresh, but feel good and still be prepared for the game. So you still have to do some tactical stuff for that.
Coach, being ahead of the curve pretty much for this year and with a short roster, how does that tactically affect you looking ahead and maybe even the tournament?
Well, it affects a lot. It affects matchups a lot, game scheme. It really makes you shorten stuff now because there's times now where even yesterday I felt we needed to play a little bit more, but we can't because everybody's in every drill. And so there isn't like there aren't any subs. So that's a challenge. And then, if someone's banged up, like Lucia is starting to practice again, but then she can't practice long. She's just coming off an injury, so making sure that we don't have another one. I think that's a challenge. And coming into this year, I thought, I'm going to have 15 people. How am I going to get everybody to practice? And then now we're in this situation. So I think that magical number is 13 with some walk-ons, but it's definitely not going to be 9 or 10 because this time of year it just kills you. So, like, let's say we're practicing in the morning before we leave out of town, and the practice players can't come, and so you can't really practice. So those are things you don't think about till it kind of happens. But I think right now you can't do a lot of stuff full court, and you can't have long practices because you don't have numbers. So my main thing is to find ways to get them food and rest because it's also a very stressful time of school. So, midterms coming up and all these projects and then the end of our season. So it's a lot of stressful things for the players. So finding ways to eliminate that stress, whether it's from feeding them or short or just so they have more time to study. So all of those things right now are just really important for our success.
And how do you feel, like kind of what he said, these 4 games are probably as tough as any team in the nation is going to play over the next 4.
Unfortunately, I know. Thanks for reminding me of that. That's good.
But, I think you guys will be as prepared going into postseason play. How do you kind of weather the expectations where these are tough teams, we're going to have a battle, but kind of a learning experience?
Yes, I think if you look from the outside in, really, we should lose all 4 games. That's kind of realistic. But I think looking at the other side, is Stanford just, lost a couple weeks ago really badly at home, and I think they're not playing at the level they were a month ago because they've had some injuries, unfortunately. And then if you look at, you look at Cal's also had some tough losses. So I think that that's a time where I think it's a good time to try to beat a team on the road. Sweeps on the road are very difficult, especially this weekend. That would be a huge milestone for this program. And then you turn around, you're at home, and then you're lucky us, we're playing number 2 and number 9. That's just awesome. I think probably Oregon State moved up. But it's like, what do you have to lose? You're supposed to lose that game. So, and Oregon's a little banged up, so you never know. Things change. This time of year, people get hurt. Things are changing. So anything can happen. I think you're going to see these next 2 weeks a lot of upsets because that's how much parity the league has. So for us, there's no pressure. There's no expectations. We go out and just play. We're in a pretty good situation, and we have a chance to do something special. So that's kind of our mindset, and one game at a time. So we're not even talking about Oregon yet because this is a hard weekend, but to go in there and we're trying to get a win. And I think in the Pac-12, if you can go on the road and split, I think it's really good. So, it's very hard to go sweep on the road. It's very rare. But if you can go split on the road, I think you're sitting in a good situation. And for us, we're in a position where people didn't think we'd be here. We were chosen 10th in the conference. So for us to even be sitting at 6th or 7th, we've done a lot. So for us, we're exceeding expectations with any other wins. So there's no pressure, and I think that's a good thing. These other teams have to beat us. So I think that's a harder position to be in.
So, it's interesting. I talked to Coach Joan last week for the story on Sam.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it, and I said, you don't want to talk about too much about where you stand sort of in the rebuild. You do, but you don't. And,
yeah.
And where is everything? And she said it's happened already, that you guys are already, there. That's what
We're not there yet.
You're getting some national attention. You've got, Aerie who's up for awards. You've got, and a lot of things are starting to click. And even earlier in the season, you upset 2 big teams, ranked teams. So I thought that was an interesting thing that we're talking about. You're in the rebuild, and it's happening, and she's looking from the outside and saying it's happened.
Yes, I don't feel like it's happened yet. I think it's happening because I think that, it's on an upward trend. I think we're in the right direction. A lot of stuff has changed, but I don't feel like we have the pieces yet that we need. We have great players, and we have one very special player, but we are missing a lot of things around her. And I think we have a great young player with Kate Reese, and I think we have Samaje, who's going to be a really good player, but they're young. So I think in the rebuilding thing, it's getting them experience because we're playing some freshmen. And then for me, it's, next year is the first year where I have all my team. And these are all mainly my recruits, and Destiny, I love having her here. But it's just your team, but it takes till year 4 to have your own team. And I always talk about that with other head coaches. So you always sign 5-year contracts. Well, it takes 4 or 5 years to get your own team. And I took a team that was very senior heavy. A lot of people don't. So I don't know if I would have taken a job with, all freshmen, because it probably would have been a great situation for me. But so in year 4, you finally have all your kids. And then for me, I'll finally have a little bit more experience because Aerie's only a sophomore. Next year she'll be a junior. But then Kate has already got a lot of playing time, Samaje playing time, Bryce playing time as a freshman. So I feel like that's when we're kind of more there because we'll have more pieces. But I think now we had been bad so long, no one really knew what to expect. The expectations were so low with everything in the program that I think any kind of upward trend has been positive, which is good, but it's not for me, it's kind of like a personal thing. Because for me, when I first got here, there was nothing good about the program. And I was kind of offended because, I went here and we were good and we did some good things. So that was a personal thing, I'll show everyone, And then it's oh, you couldn't recruit here. This is very, it's hard to recruit. It's just challenging. It's competitive. And then we can't get certain players to this and that. And it's okay, yeah, we can. So then we get those players. So now it's, after winning only 6 games last year and 2 Pac-12, now it's starting to win. So now we got a couple big wins, but it's still not good enough. I think it'd be great if we make the postseason. That's another step towards the right direction. And then I could say the rebuilding has really started. It started now, but we're nowhere close to where this program needs to be by any means.
How has recruiting changed in the last 6 months from coming to the season, coming off 6-24 to now where you guys are sitting? You can kind of talk to people with a little bit different context of what you're doing and a little bit more.
It's changed a lot, but I think the relationships were so solid before. I think people knew that that was coming. So I didn't feel like because we won 6 games now it did close a couple doors. But I think in other situations, the relationships were so solid that they knew that it was a natural progression. So I don't think it hurt that much. I think it hurt with new people trying to get in and oh no, they're not good enough. And it did, but then for me, it's I don't want to coach those kind of kids anyways. So it didn't really hurt that much. I think now it's just people see the potential and they see that we're missing pieces, and they also see a great player is here, another great young player, and I can play with them for a couple of years. So I think that's where it's helped. We've recruited some really good pieces, but now we're recruiting for 2020 and then 21. So there's still a lot of work. The recruiting, it never ends. You're always trying to find different pieces. So next year we'll have 6 new people, and then the following year we'll have 3, but then the classes can get smaller. So ideally as a coach, you don't want 6, 7 people every year. You don't want all the change, all the turnover, having 5 new people this year, it's hard. So you wanna try to limit that and just add a couple pieces. I think the fortunate thing is as we get better, you only add a couple pieces. So you're missing, let's say, a really physical 3. So you'll only go out and recruit that person. Before, we're just recruiting the best players we can get, and just it's just rushed. I think you can be more strategic later as you get better. We know we're going to develop Samaje and Kate, so then we look for someone that's different. We know we're going to develop Bryce, so we look for a guard that's different than her. So I think that's what helps when you're trying to build a championship team. You have to be strategic about that, and you have to have a plan. So I think we have a good plan in place, and now that we're better, we can execute that plan a little more. We don't get turned down by so many people, but recruiting's not easy. We're all in the Pac-12. Most of us are all recruiting the same kids. Stanford's recruiting a little bit more elite, different, but Cal, us, Oregon State, Oregon, we are always, UCLA, USC, half of our kids overlap. So.
For the young team that you have, developmental-wise, who's been the most pleasant surprise?
They all have in different ways. Samaje, I just watched film our first Stanford game and earlier games, and Samaje's improved a lot. Her hands, her confidence, and I remember her hitting that 3 in the game against Colorado. She could not, she was breaking the backboard when she first came here on shooting 3s. So that's improved, but I think her catching, her feel for the game, posting up has improved, so Samaje a lot. Bryce has improved her defense tremendously. She still has a ways to go, and even her shooting has gotten a lot better, and she's working at it every day, so I like to see that. I like to see some of those small successes. Kate has posted up harder. She's more aware. She finishes stronger now. She's not on the floor nearly. Do you remember the first games? She was probably on the floor 15 times a game. Now she finishes stronger. She doesn't always take a step back shot. She's going to the rim with contact. She's dribbling with her left hand a little bit. So I think all 3 of them have improved, and then Aries improved. I think even Sam. Sam has changed from a 4 to a 3, and I think it took a while. The roles changed, the plays are called differently. We now have a different guard, so I think it's taken her, Lucia, time to adjust, but I think they've all gotten better. You haven't seen it with Lucia yet because she's been kind of in and out, but you've seen it with Ari, you've seen it with Sam, Samaje, Kate, and Bryce for sure. And Dominique, we didn't know what to expect because she wasn't in this league. But
season, knowing Ari from your time at Washington, did you think she had a shot at your scoring records?
I wasn't sure because Ari wasn't a score-first guard. She's kind of turned into that here, and her role was so different at Washington. In high school, she could score a lot. She could have 35-point games, so I knew she could score. But did I know she could at this level? No, I didn't think 25 points a game. I didn't think she'd have points, 38-point games. But I knew she was capable of 18 or 20. That's honestly, that's what I thought. I didn't think 24 a game or the top 3 in the nation in scoring. I really didn't. But also some of that is what we have, the position she's been in, and she's really been efficient and made things happen. But I also don't want to in the future have a load like that on her. I don't want her to have to score 25 points to win a game. I want her to have games where she's hot, and she's in a rhythm and she gets 25, 30 points, but I don't want that to be the expectation, and we're not where we need to be if that's happening. Because in my opinion, a great team will have 4 players in double digits, and Ari can be at 18, but then Sam's at 14, then Kate's at 12 or 10, Dominique's at 11 or 12. That's more of a balance, and those are better teams. So that's the goal. And then Ari would still go off sometimes, but it's not what you want, because the nights when she doesn't have it, rare, Colorado a little bit rare, but nights when she doesn't play good, we don't win. So I think now we're getting better because we have more of a balance. She had 13, but then she had 9 assists, and we were able to win. I think before we wouldn't have been able to win that, because Sam wasn't playing at the same level, Dominique wasn't, and Kate wasn't. But in order for us to win later, we have to, because there's going to be nights when Ari's not going to have 25 points. So we have to be able to step up. And an example is going to be at Stanford. They are going to have 5 people in the paint. So we're going to have, for us to win, the other players need to score, because they're going to make it very hard. Ari's going to have to get shots in transition, quick shots and drag screens and different on-balls. And then they're just going to sit everybody in a paint. It's going to look like a zone when it's a man. So they're going to leave us, and they're going to say other people beat you, and that's what I would do. So we have to have other people shooting the ball and stepping up and being aggressive.
With her being such a score first option, have you had to switch up maybe your offensive game plan to kind of cater to other players to get involved?
I have, so I've had to create some more offense for other players just so they get involved. Had to work a ton on our spacing and our reversal to the other side, because what was happening early in the year is the ball never got to the other side. It was like play, stay on this side, watch Ari, get the ball, then give the ball back to Ari, and we're not going to win like that. So I kept on having to try to do things to reverse the ball, or make some plays that get the ball out of Ari's hands. She goes and cuts and screens and then gets the ball back. And I think we've been better since then. And credit to them, because they've been moving the ball better. And Ari's made a conscious effort to sacrifice some of her scoring and offense and finding other shooters. And I think that's been really good, and that's also a confidence builder. Because as a player, when you touch the ball and you're involved, that can be it doesn't have to be from a shot. It can be from a reversal or a pass in and out. You're going to play harder on defense, and you're going to screen better. Because if you're just standing there, you're never receiving the ball, you're not going to set good screens because you're not going to care. You're not going to be engaged, and you're not going to play good defense. But when you're feeling good and confident, you feel involved, you feel important, you feel like you're a factor, you're going to go screen a little harder. You're going to go play a little bit better defense because you're feeling good. You're not, and it's probably just like a woman's thing, but you're not going to be like, I'm not screaming for her, I don't even touch the ball, That's probably with men too, but it's an emotional thing, and you have to be connected. And I think I'm a firm believer that a great organized offense, you have an organized defense. Because when you have an unorganized offense and you don't know when the shots are coming and you don't know what to expect, you're not prepared on defense. So it's a disaster, because you don't know when a shot came, and so you're not going to be able to go back. But when you know where the shots are coming, you know what the next the next part of the play is, you're prepared, and you know where shots are coming from. So when we play our best defense, our offense is better. But I think you can see we've evolved offensively, we've gotten better, and lately we've been turning the ball over, but I haven't worked a ton on offense because we needed so much defensive work and boxing out work because the rebounds were a disaster. So now I'm kind of trying to have a balance, work on the fundamentals of our offense, and still emphasize the defense in those shorter practices, and that's hard. Because as coach, we can keep them there 4 hours because there's so much stuff to teach. Okay, you good? Okay. All right, thank you.
I know this week you've had a few fun extracurriculars. You were on Coach's radio show on Monday, and you were on a podcast, Pac-12 podcast. Do you enjoy doing those things? What's the most, fun aspect of all that?
At first, I didn't like doing any of that, but as I've gotten, as the season came along, I'm like, okay, I'm totally fine with that. Definitely making me mature, making me open up, making me talk more. But it's just fun, just talking good about my teammates and my coaches, and just to let talkers know that our viewers know that we're up and coming.
Samaje, tell me afterglow of the three-point shot, not only yourself, but your teammates?
So during practice and before the games, I've been telling Adia and all the coaches I'm gonna shoot a three in the game because we shoot them in like practice so I told her, I said, I'm gonna shoot in the game. She said, when we're up by 20, and I was like, nope. So during the game when it was open and I was in the corner, I shot it because I had confidence in myself, and I'm glad my teammates had confidence in me too because it was a good experience. I liked it. I'm about to creep out there more often.
You were, you were celebrating on the court a little bit.
How do you guys kind of carry the 3 wins out of 4? You guys probably have the toughest stretch of games coming up that probably anybody in the nation's going to play. How do you guys take that confidence that you guys have had into those tough 4 games?
We just have to worry about ourselves, not the other teams. They have to play us, and they have the pressure. So we just keep doing what we're doing, getting better, keep improving, and we'll be fine.
Here, you need 33 points to break Adia's single-season scoring record. Are you trying to do that in 1 game, 2 games?
I mean, honestly, I haven't even been thinking about it. Just playing 1 game at a time. Just trying to win and secure a spot in postseason. So if I break it, I break it. I don't. So.
You know, there's so many parts of your game that you always talk about that, you know, you really enjoy the defense and everything, and you're extremely fast, your speed, and you have a vision on the court that's unseen by anybody else. And what do you think is like maybe the one key thing that you have that sort of is, you know, making you excel this season?
I would definitely say my toughness, definitely, and my IQ. Or I would just go with my IQ. It's making me excel this year. Like, I'm seeing things that people aren't able to see, and I'm thinking ahead every play. Like, I'm a couple plays ahead, and it's just something like a coach will see, but I'm actually doing it by myself. Or a coach is telling me, but I'm doing it by myself. So I'd definitely say my IQ.
Is there anything that Coach Valley or Coach Adia has showed you so that you can see these things, and kind of coached you that way, so now you're seeing it?
Or did it just come to you?
It just came to me, like sitting out a year helped me see things that a lot of people don't see. So I basically sat out and I had a coach's perspective sitting out. So it just carried along with me this year.
How's your body holding up? Because, I mean, you go full bore into the paint. I mean, Coach Sumlin might want you on the practice field.
My body is fine, you know. I take a lot of beatings during games, but I do treatment almost every day, so my body is fine.
How about your leadership skills? I've seen you grow from the beginning of the season. Coach Adia said, like, when you were sitting out last year, she helped you with certain things to kind of build those leadership skills. To me, it really came out in the UCLA loss and the press conference after, when you talked about your teammates and how proud of your teammates you were. And it seemed like, you know, at the beginning of the season, everybody talked about it. Got to step up. I got to be a leader. You seem to really have grown in that aspect. What do you think is sort of the key things? I know that you've had to push yourself in that direction.
Just the key thing is just coming out my shell, honestly. I'm comfortable with my teammates, and I know that they trust me and they trust what I say. So just talking to them, letting them know, like, you got this, encouraging them, and I don't know, just keep encouraging them, being positive. I think that's definitely been one thing. And just Coach Barnes and the other coaches, they've helped me. They were like, I don't care if you're wrong, just talk. Like, so I'm always saying the right thing, but I'm just talking more, and I feel like my team needs that.
Coach Barnes said you're one of probably the players that have grown most over the year. What do you feel like has been the key in just from the growth from game 1 to hitting that 3 yesterday, where you could have that confidence where you're just pulling up?
Definitely working with Coach Morgan and Coach April and also Coach Adia. We all do different things, and I'm working with them. So with Coach Adia, I'll work on like rebounding, and she'll throw the ball hard so I can catch those hard passes that Ari throws. And then with April, I'll work on like defense and also like post moves. And with Morgan, I'll work on like midline and we'll also shoot. So that's what helped me shoot the 3 on Sunday.
What do you think the biggest confidence builder you had when we first saw you in the first few non-conference games? We could tell you were nervous, and rightfully so. But now you're out there, you're smiling, you're having fun, you're hitting threes, and what's the biggest transition, and what was the biggest factor?
Biggest factor has to be my teammates. They tell me like, I can do this, you got this. And Ari, she definitely like builds my confidence, because she'll be like, you got this, and she'll also like get on me when I need to be so my teammates have helped.
So what's the mix? I listened to the podcast last night. So what's the mix of candy? I didn't quite get that you, in pregame, that you eat now. And do you think maybe you didn't eat the right mix because you weren't feeling your shot on Sunday? Or
I don't think I had enough Sunday. It was early. We had an early day. We had walk through at 8 in the morning, so I don't feel like I had enough candy. So, but yeah, just Skittles, Reese's a lot. So, yeah, I just need to eat more. Maybe that'll energize me and make me shoot more with confidence. So,
Coach Barnes said she's been cutting down practice times. How's that kind of helped you guys focus more, or how have you guys been preparing for those maybe shortened physical times just in practice?
definitely. Where we are in the season, we played a lot of games, and our bodies may not be holding up. So for us to have short and intense practice helps us a lot. Like, it saves our body, but it also helps us focus more on what we're going through with plays or the other teams. So it's definitely helpful.
Anything else? All right. Thanks.
Thanks, ladies.